Welcome to Momivate's podcast. This is called Momversations, and we like to have a conversation with moms, and we invite any and every mom to come be a guest on our podcast because every mom has a story, and it's really a beautiful thing for us as moms to be willing to open up and share those stories, and it helps us know that we're not alone. And that is one reason we've invited Diane to be on our podcast today. Diane, when you were introducing yourself to me through our texting back and forth, you mentioned that if you had one gift you could give to moms, it would be that they know they are not alone. I love that. I'm so happy to know you. I met you through one of our board members here at Momivate. Since we're a nonprofit, we run by having a board. And we call it the motherboard because we think that's funny. We don't really know what computers are and what the motherboard in a computer is, except that it's the brains, and that really fits, right? They named it the motherboard on purpose because it's the brains of everything, and that's how moms are. Sometimes in our households, we we make sure all the programming is going on, right? So yeah, here at Momivate, we really like that kind of wordplay. So yeah, I'm so glad that Rachel reached out to you and let you know about us and invited you to be here on our podcast today. Let's give you a minute to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your motherhood situation in life and other things that you do.
Okay, thank you so much, Regan, and thank you for having me on here. This is so fun. So like she said, I'm Diane, and I have 5 kids. My oldest is 11. My youngest will be 10 months tomorrow.
Oh, fun.
And I love being a mom. I can't say that I always did.
Right.
Um,
It's
and
one of those things that sometimes you have to make an effort to cultivate that enjoyment.
it can take time.
And that's why we have our little acronym about SMILE. We feel like it can be a conscious effort.
Absolutely. So true. I'm a postpartum doula and coach. And when I say postpartum, I don't just mean depression. That's what a lot of people think the word means. But postpartum just means the time after a baby's born, and all moms go through it. And so I support moms in pregnancy, birth, and after, especially after, as they transition into motherhood. And I'm a founder of my business, which is called Hold the Mom, because everybody holds the baby or wants to hold the baby, and we need to hold the mom.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I love that idea, that concept in general. And again, the idea being that every mom goes through this.
Yes,
And every mom needs to know that she can reach out and get support. And hopefully we, as the fellow moms or as the neighbors or whatever, we know that we can reach out to that mom and not wait until she says, whoa, I need help, but just
absolutely.
recognize automatically that there is a major transition going on there. And even if mentally she isn't suffering from what you mentioned, we tend to cut it off at the word postpartum, but it's postpartum depression is really the mental health challenge. Honestly, even if that's not part of the equation, there's still a huge transition going on.
Absolutely.
We
Yes.
can be part of the solution. We can be part of the prevention of the potential issues mentally and emotionally, and we can just hold that mom.
There you go.
I love it. So yeah, I love the idea that you said you founded a company to do this.
Yeah, it's pretty new, but it's been so amazing and so good for me to be building it. And I have very high hopes for it. I really want to influence postpartum culture, change postpartum culture, especially in the Western part of the world. Because I think what a lot of people in the United States don't know is that in many other countries, there is so much more support just in villages, in families. Basically, a mom's only job after birth is to heal and learn how to feed her baby. And everything else is delegated and taken care of. And I'm sure that's not in every country and every culture, society, but it's kind of the norm in a lot of other places. And here we just think we shouldn't ask for help. We think we're supposed to just bounce back. We think we're supposed to do it all. And I love the quote by a doula in, I think she's in Nepal. I forget her name at the moment, but if you Google it, you'll find it right away. And it just says that if you take care of the first 40 days, the first 40 days after birth sets the stage for the next 40 years in motherhood.
Oh, wow.
If you can really take that time after a baby comes to just nurture yourself, learn how to heal, bond with your baby, then you are setting up yourself for success. And you don't have to deal with all the trauma and things that can just keep bothering you over the years because you never deal with it right
Right.
after.
And 40 days is significantly longer than what we think of. I mean, I think sometimes when the meal sign up sheet goes around at church, it's for 3 or 4 days instead of 40, you know?
Right.
Maybe I'll just pop up a little advertisement, I guess, for the meal train. I don't know if you've heard of that website. It's just
Yes,
mealtrain.com. And I love to point people that direction. Just go ahead and set yourself up a page and start asking your friends to sign up. And
absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome.
Good resource.
So all right. Well, here we like to have, as I mentioned before, the acronym of SMILE. Each letter of SMILE has its own word that can help us enjoy motherhood more. And the very first letter is S for support. And I really feel like that's what you've done by setting up this company, is to reach out and give that support to moms, let them know that there's somebody they can even hire to
Yeah.
come help them. And is part of what you do setting up further support? Like, do you get them a meal train page, or what do you do so that even after your shift is over, they still feel like they're supported?
Mm. I think the most important thing that I do is teach a mom how to support herself
Oh, great.
because you are always with you forever and you have a relationship with yourself. And a lot of us don't think about that.
Yeah.
We put everyone else first. We put our kids first, and then we don't meet our own needs. And then we wonder why it's so hard and we're blowing up at our kids and we're having resentment and things. And I don't mean to go off on a little tangent with that, but just as easy as looking at yourself in the mirror when you're in the bathroom for a minute, acknowledging yourself, maybe saying hello to yourself. It can even get to like where you're giving yourself a valid compliment or saying to yourself, I know how hard that was for you. I know how much you wanted to yell at your kids right then. You're amazing for holding it together. Whatever you need, we really seek our own validation the most. And
Because like you said, we're with ourselves all the time. Our brains are always on sending messages to ourselves about ourselves.
right,
So if we can train that mindset to be positive and supportive of ourselves.
absolutely.
I
And
love that.
just be a true friend to yourself. Like how many of those thoughts are critical all day long?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a choice. We don't have to treat ourselves like that. I
I love
think,
that. Because would you ever really say those things to your best friend?
hmm,
No, you would reach out
right,
with hope and with, yeah, so learning to speak to yourself as if you are your own best friend. I love.
yeah. So I think that's the most important way. But in my work as a postpartum doula, I'm in the home with women, and it's basically just however they need support or want support. It can be light house cleaning, it can be emotional support, it can be to help them process their birth, which is so important. And if you don't mind me saying just something about that for a minute,
Yeah.
um, so many of us feel like if the baby's alive and I'm alive, then that's it. Like we don't even need to talk about anything else here. Let's not bore anyone with all the details about the birth. But I love this. It came from a book called The Fourth Trimester by Kimberly Ann Johnson, where she talks about that postpartum time, and her book is amazing. And she compares it to like a hike up Mount Everest, like a life-changing hike.
Yeah.
And if you went on that hike and came back, It's not just like, oh, did you get to the top or not? And then let's just stop talking about it. Like there was fear. There were times that you didn't feel like you could make it. There were times where you were cold or hungry or lost. And that's a lot what birth can be like. Even the best births have things that we want to talk about, and we need to process with someone who will listen and not judge us and help us feel safe. And so, if we don't do that, and I feel like a lot of women don't do that, then it comes up in other ways throughout motherhood where we just feel like we're second guessing ourselves. We feel like we're just not quite whole again. We haven't mended that fear and those problems. And sometimes it comes out at baby showers where we finally get a chance to like tell our birth story and it becomes like a horror story above someone else's or whatever. And so I just think that's such an important part is processing your birth as soon after birth as you can with someone like me or another postpartum doula or a therapist or a coach who will listen or a friend who you know won't judge you.
Right.
And to just be able to say anything and everything you want to about the birth journal if you want, right? It doesn't have to be chronological, just write. Get it out there because any birth is significant. It's amazing that your body did that. It's amazing you did that. It's worth celebrating and honoring.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. I hope that everybody takes that into account as they move forward in ways to support themselves as well as to the mom down the street who they can just pop in and visit and give that mom the chance to talk it through. That's great.
Thanks.
Our M in Smile is for music. And I am curious. I don't think I've disclosed this yet that I was once a doula.
Oh, yeah, I
Uh,
didn't know. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it feels very far in my past because once my twins were born, I chose not to attend births anymore, except for friends, you know. Uh, so so my twins are turning 20 this May, so it's been a long time.
Wow.
But I do remember keeping, okay, and this tells you how long ago it was because I had a Walkman with cassette tapes. And I would play Enya. Enya was one of the cassette tapes I would keep in my doula bag. So
Thanks.
that's my little music input there as far as birth goes. Enya just felt like calm enough while also having like energetic parts to it that, and of course, Enya was a bigger deal back then. I don't hear that
Yeah,
much anymore.
she's great. I love her music. When I knew I was going to mention something about music, this is actually not about birth or anything anymore, but
Yeah,
just with
that's
my
totally
own
fine.
family, what we love to do is we have a speaker in the kitchen and we turn on like a little playlist of just upbeat, fun music. A lot of it's stuff I used to like in high school or college or whatever. And we have
You're
dance
keeping
parties.
building the family culture there by letting the kids know what your music was. That's fun.
Totally. And then we have dance parties in the kitchen and we do it as we do the dishes or we move all the furniture off the floor and we not too much water, but we put a little bit of water in a bucket and we get socks on we don't care about and we mop the floor on our socks with the music going and we've tried to make that. I think that's the only chore I've figured out how to make fun, but my kids really like to mop the floor. But I think music has such power to be fun and to be upbeat and help us feel better. Um, there's a YouTube channel I like called Hopscotch. Have you heard of that?
Huh.
It's got some educational music that is so catchy and so fun. The first one I ever heard was about boundaries and how to set good boundaries socially, but they
Yeah.
have them about the water cycle and about the rock cycle and a lot of scientific things, and they have the planets. And so my 3-year-old knows all the planets. She knows the dwarf planets because those songs are so fun, and we love to listen to those and sing as a family too. So
That's really awesome. I love it. That's so great. Yeah. And please feel free to branch beyond the birth topic as we move on with these things. And I do think it's really fun to you're kind of pointing people to other resources that they can use, like to have fun while mopping the kitchen. Just turn on those playlists. Or if you are going to have your kids watch the YouTube, then enjoy something like that that's going to teach them little lessons, right? You said it's hopscotch,
Yeah.
just like the little game we used to play outside.
Yeah.
Very good. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Um, okay, so the I in inspiration, in smile, the I in smile is for inspiration. And I just wanted to kind of start off by pointing people to your blog. I feel like it is very inspirational. And I wrote down a few of the most recent ones that you did, like the cute little recipe. I really did think that I was going to open it up and learn how to make dinner that night, but it's more of a an analogy, right? And you supply two recipes. One is going to taste much better than the other one when if we pay attention close to what that recipe is like. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your Hold the Mom blog and how people can find it.
Um, First of all, I'm just so glad that you found some value in that, and thank you for reading it. I post every week by Thursday by midnight. So on Friday, there's going to be a post every week, and it's just holdthemom.blogspot.com. And I just post usually about what I'm thinking about. It'll be about motherhood or postpartum. But I just try to share how it is and not like some kind of rosy, rose-colored glasses version, or this is my best, I'm only showing you my best version. My hope with the blog is that someone reading it will feel like, oh, me too. Oh, maybe I'm not so weird or so alone, or maybe there's nothing really wrong with me. Maybe motherhood is just complicated and difficult. Um, I really believe that all things that are really fulfilling are also really challenging, really difficult too. And so if it's hard, that means you're right on track.
Right. I love that. That's a really good overall perspective, like not just about motherhood, but overall, we can say to ourselves, oh my goodness, this is really challenging. And so it can be very fulfilling. I think possibly one of the keys to bridge that gap and or move forward into the fulfilling zone instead of just staying stuck in the it's hard zone, is to really own it and realize that we don't have to compare ourselves to other people. We don't have to try to live up to other people's expectations, but just recognize that this is my own, this is my situation, and I can impact it. I might not have 100% complete control, right? We have to admit that too.
Yeah,
There are things outside of our control, but the things that are in my control, what can I adjust? What can I, help so that it turns into my own thing?
absolutely. And that just made me think of the idea when in motherhood, in life, when we keep feeling like, oh, I have to do that. I have to get that done. You see the laundry basket that's overflowing. You see the sink full of dishes. You see the flyer for something you were going to sign your kid up for school. It's so overwhelming and it feels like there's so many things I have to do. And that is so miserable to have that be your everyday. And to have a switch instead of I have to do this, I could do this, or a switch of I want to do this. That ownership, like actually, I really want to be up with my child throwing up in the night or whatever. That's what I choose. That's what I want. And yes, it's not comfortable, it's not always fun, but like we can get rid of that extra layer of I have to do this, that victim mentality, and
Yeah.
just gain that ownership over what we choose, even with our thoughts are choices too.
That's very inspirational. That fits in so well with our I in smile. And I do want to say, because so many of our listeners only listen and they don't have the visual. So I do want to tell them that Diane is coming at us from her bedroom, and there is an overflowing laundry basket right behind her.
Visual
So And
made.
she's real. She is as real as they come. And I think that that's part of being inspirational, is knowing that you're real. So, all right.
Regan, sorry, before we move on from can I say one more thing about inspirational?
Of course.
Um, Even if you're not religious or anything, I think it's so important to find connection outside of yourself. For me, that's with God. But if you don't believe in God or whatever, if you find it through nature, if you find it through those quiet moments of meditation. But for me, it's through God because I believe that God knows me and loves me just as I am and knows what's true. And so that's really where the inspiration one comes from for me, is taking time every day to try to connect with God and see what's true, because so many times I can be thinking, like we were saying, the victim mentality, or this is so hard or whatever. And I believe that God knows what's true. And if I just ask and if I just listen and take moments here and there, it's sometimes challenging in motherhood, but taking those moments to connect every day, I think is crucial.
I love that. Yeah, and certainly there is a lot of resources to figure out how to connect with God, whether you mentioned meditation, and I think that can be used inside or outside of religion. And prayer is one of those things, and there's variety of ways that people pray. And there's churches that you can belong to find community there. And there's scripture, I think, that can, people can find a lot of inspiration as they read God's word. It is a powerful source of inspiration there. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's awesome. And
Thanks.
I will mention for people who are just listening that she happens to have a nice picture of Jesus there on her in her bedroom too. So she, like I said, she's real. That's awesome. And so our L in smile is for laughter. So I do think it is really fun to tell stories that make us laugh, or if we happen to be good at dad jokes. I just made a joke last night with my 6-year-old, and she looked at me and she was like, "That's your very first mom joke." Kind of sad, right? That she's 6, and hopefully I've told jokes in the past 6 years, but we do, in our family culture, we tend to think of them as dad jokes.
Yeah.
But we do laugh, even if mom's not the one making the joke. So I'm very interested to hear about laughter from your perspective.
I just think that if we can laugh at ourselves, you know, not in a mean way, of course, but look at things in a funny way, it can just be so much better. And I think I tend to be kind of more serious with myself. And so this is something I could do so much better at. But I'll just give a little example. So if I'm out and about and I see a stranger that I think needs help, I'm a person that wants to do that more than stay to myself usually. I mean, if I have time, I might like swing by and offer someone a ride, which people tend to be really like, who is this crazy lady offering me a ride? Um, and the funniest one, I might as well just share it. It's kind of embarrassing, but I was with my whole family, and we had just gotten some food from like Culver's or somewhere, and everything just happened at once. Like I'm like, honey, pull over. That guy, I think he needs a ride. He looked like he was in his hurry. He was looking at his watch. He was at the light and he was gonna go. And I was like, we can give him a ride. And then I asked my daughter to like move to the back so that there's room for him. And then in doing that, she knocked over the fries. And so the fries got knocked over. And my kids start fighting about something right then. And I yell out to him in Spanish because I just thought, I'm like, hey, you want to get in the car? Like in Spanish. And he answers me back in perfect English. And he's like, I'm out for a run. And I was thinking he was late to something. And I was thinking we'd be so helpful to him. And it just turns out that it was so awkward. But um, The reason why doing things nice for strangers is a good idea is because either it makes someone's day or you can laugh about it later. You can laugh at the awkwardness of that. And so I love doing that with my husband. We just sit around and, what did you do today, Diane? And I tell him and we laugh because often there's a misunderstanding or something like that.
Right. It's a nice way to de-stress and see things from a different perspective. Maybe in the moment it was really hard to laugh. It would have been like, ay, I'm not, this isn't laughable. But give it a few hours, maybe it takes a few weeks or months, but be able to look back and say, okay, that actually was pretty funny.
Totally. And I will
Um,
say too, with moms, just like sometimes I used to get stressed out about a journal and, oh, I should write everything down. And that can be really overwhelming. But one thing I do suggest with that is if your kid says something funny and you can just take a moment and add it to the list that you have somewhere of funny things they say, those will be gold. Those are
yeah.
so fun to read later on.
Yeah, I love that. That is really good practice to get into if you can as a mom. I think that with mine, so my youngest is my 6-year-old, and I do feel like I was too busy for so many of her years of saying funny things as a toddler and everything. And so now I do look back and think, oh shoot, I shouldn't have been too busy for that. But she's the youngest of 8, so it is a busy life that we
Mm,
lead. So,
totally.
all right. Well, great. Our final letter in SMILE is E for empowerment. And when it comes to our organization and how we have things structured, we like to recognize that moms raise up society, and that is another acronym. And we encourage our listeners to go to our website, find out what that raise up acronym means. But I do want to give you a chance to, if you had anything within that raise up acronym that you would want to give us some empowerment. I feel like this whole podcast has been empowering, just for the
Good.
record.
Well, you're so easy to talk to, and it's been so fun so far. Um, so I think the thing in your acronym that I wanted to highlight, and I mentioned this earlier, is with relationships again.
Yeah,
We think about needing our husband to say that certain thing, or needing to have date nights to have a good relationship with him, or build our relationship with our children. And of course, these things are so important, but that relationship with self, I think, is something that's just ignored. We don't even realize. And this is something I learned from Jody Moore, who is an amazing life coach, and she has a great podcast. It's called Better Than Happy. I would recommend anyone to go check it out. But she talks about our relationship with our past self, our present self, our future self. And even just the way you were talking, Reagan, when you said with your youngest and that maybe you didn't have time, to enjoy like you wish you had. And there's like a little twinge of regret, I feel like it's looking at your past self and saying to yourself, I was doing the best I could with my situation, and it was actually great. And it might have been exactly what my kids needed at the time. And just that healing to go in your past and stop feeling bad about everything or regretting or thinking I should have done it this way or whatever. But just looking at your past self with that like
great.
admiration of what you
Oh,
did
yeah. Very
and
good. Even better than.
applauding it, applauding your efforts. Your future self, I love to think of like doing my future self a favor. Like, I don't really want to do the dishes before bed. Oh, but I know it's such a nice thing to go out in my kitchen and it's all clean. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put on the Momivate Mom's Conversations podcast or whatever. And during the podcast, I'm gonna do all the dishes to give my future self a gift.
I love it.
And, simple things like that, or bigger things like if there's something you want to study in school, or if you want to start your own business, or if you want to just start chasing your dreams, starting to do that now for your future self, like set her up, give her what she wants, and start doing the work now. And then, of course, with your present self. And that is like those conversations we have in the mirror every day. And when I say that, I wonder if some moms think, I don't have time to sit there and talk to myself in the mirror. But you go in the bathroom several times a day. You have time to like at least acknowledge yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, say I love you to yourself if you feel that. Um, and really just see yourself as a real person because moms are people too. We
That's
don't
right.
need to be just like eating the leftovers off our kids' plates and then just like running around, we
Yeah.
can like, what do I want to eat for lunch and plan it out a little bit and
Sit down.
sit
That's one
down.
thing I've had to challenge myself. Okay, you don't have to be standing up the entire time and running around with it. You can sit and eat. That's okay.
Right. So I think just a whole lot more compassion, love. I don't think it means we're narcissistic or selfish. It's just about healing that relationship with ourselves that so many of us have allowed to become the very last priority. And I challenge the moms to try this in little ways. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but you can weave in that self care into your day and life. Um,
I remember one mom played the piano so beautifully, and I asked her, "How have you been able to keep this up, even though you are in the midst of intense motherhood, you know?"
yeah,
And she did. She said, "I make sure that I play at least 15 minutes every day, and my kids know that it's mom's time to play." And, so she had really prioritized that to keep up that talent.
yeah, I
Just
love that.
as an example. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of thing can really benefit you. It can benefit your family.
Yeah.
Um,
Those kids would watch and think, okay, mom has this talent, mom has this skill. And yeah, it can inspire them possibly to want to play piano themselves.
right. I think that as a mom, sometimes we think to be a good mom means I put everyone first all the time. And I learned really early on that that wasn't sustainable.
Right.
And it's okay to have needs, it's okay to have wants, it's okay to make time and effort for those things. And there are times that your kids aren't going to like it. And there are times that they're going to interrupt and things. And it's, what do I do then? Is this still important to me? Um, so one other thing that I love to do is a kid swap where I find a neighbor who maybe has kids that get along well with my kids or whatever. And once a week for 2 or 3 hours, my kids will go to their house, and then like the next week, their kids will come to my house. Or I've done this with my sister many years, and we'll sometimes it'll be twice a week.
Yeah.
When anyway, just to have that to look forward to. That's
Yeah.
going to be my time. And it's not necessarily my time that I'm going to just do all these things that I think I should do and have to do to like be a good mom and wife and person in this world. Recently, I took myself out for lunch for that time and I was
Oh,
just
fun.
with me and it was great. And it
That's,
wasn't it wasn't boring, it wasn't anything. And I think just to it's really important to look forward to that time
yeah.
and make it happen and treat yourself as a real person too. And then you'll
And
notice how
you're
much
giving
it does
that
help
gift.
others.
Yeah. You're also giving that gift to the other mom as you
Yeah.
arrange that kid swap. You're giving her that chance to look forward to her time to herself.
Totally.
This wasn't planned, but I'll go ahead and mention that Momivate has kind of a structured a thing. We call it the Mom Pod. And it's where so we have a outline that you can download that gives you all kinds of great ideas about how to make that Mom Pod happen. It came out of the question of when self-care was a really big buzzword. And my question was always just, for heaven's sakes, if I'm taking care of myself, which sounds like a great idea, who's going to be taking care of my kids, And so trying to resolve that cognitive dissonance ahead of time and in a structured way, not just feeling like, okay, kids, you're running free now, or I'm putting you in front of the TV for several hours, but really conscientiously building that time frame. So it's, of course, it's free. Momivate is a nonprofit on purpose because we want to provide resources to moms for free. So please come to our website and find our Mom Pod packet and download that and give yourself that, build that relationship with yourself.
Yes. I'm
And
so glad you offered that, Reagan, and just thank you for all you're doing for these moms and all the effort, all the work.
the gratitude is reciprocated. I'm so glad that you are there and that you're creating the Hold the Mom concept and all the various services, whether through your blog or if they are able to find you. You also have a website, Diane Epperson.
Yep.
So we will make sure people know how to find you. Thank you again for being here on our podcast today.
Yes, thank you. It's been awesome. I appreciate it.